You're talking family, you're talking kids, you're talking certain things that we could agree on, traditional values that you're talking about. I can get behind that.
Please stop pushing for the Christian ayatollahs.
But I would be very interested in finding ways to get more and more of these communities together to talk. We're going to have differences.
These guys are not allies of yours. You are a Christian man. Your family was oppressed by Islamists.
And I think the real bigger enemy is not going to like us finding ways to unify. I just don't think they are.
Your mother or father, I don't remember, but one of them was a communist, like my father was. And do you know what happened to the communists in Iran when they thought that the Islamists would be their allies, that they could, have a revolution together and then have democracy afterwards and, equality and so on? And what happened? The Islamists came to power and killed and suppressed the communists. And I know you have this book coming out that is about choosing your enemy. And it really is kind of ironic when you think about the fact that one of your parents, who was a communist, chose their enemy, the Shah. What happened? Let's say the Shah was oppressive and all of that, right? Which he was kind of, but not really, not in comparison to the hellhole Iran has become since, right? We don't need Christian mullahs. We don't need Christian Taliban, right? Stop pushing this agenda and understand that Christians are being killed every day. Every day are being killed by Islamists.
Hey, I'm going to turn your kids into teaching them about LGBTQ at 5 years old. I'm sorry? What did you say? I'm going to do that. In Armenians, like, you go after the mother? No, we're not doing that. You go after Prophet Muhammad? Hey, what are you talking about? What are you doing? This is not okay with us.
Yes, our children shouldn't be brainwashed with queer theory and trans ideology or whatever is going on the left that is totally crazy, with the wokeists going totally crazy. But the sexual minorities are, being met with hatred and violence from Islamists. A Muslim young boy under the age of 18 killed a young black man in Brooklyn in August, not that long ago, because he was gay. A young black man was killed because he was dancing, voguing in Brooklyn with a knife. He was caught in his chest and he died. This young Muslim boy who did this was saying, "We are Muslims, we're not okay with you being gay in public." So they wanted them out of there. They wanted them, not voguing in the streets of New York. And this is New York, 22 years after 9/11. A witness to this whole incident said, "They attacked us because we were gay, screaming, 'We don't like gays,' screaming, 'We are Muslims and we do not like gays. We are Muslims and we do not like gays.' Got a young man killed in Brooklyn in the United States."
Eventually and I know I'm going to use this analogy because we talked about the mob earlier and you were talking about what happens when you leave the mob and you're talking about what happens when you leave the Muslim faith. Eventually in New York, the 5 mob families came together and they unified together, right? And I'm not using that analogy to say the similar things here, but I wonder what would happen if we realized that what they're trying to do to our kids, none of us agree with.
It goes straight to her.
LGBTQ is not religion.
This is Hamtramck, Michigan, a predominantly Muslim town that made it illegal to hang the gay flag up in public space, causing a small war between the LGBT community and the Muslims that live here.
Not happy with the ban. I believe it to be unconstitutional. We've had 3 flags torn off. I'm not teaching hate against Muslims. Muslims should not be teaching hate against gay people. They had young people at the polls screaming, "Kill the flag," during the voting.
We're investigating the gay flag ban thing.
We go egg the flag. We gotta go egg the flag.
Really?
Right now.
Yeah.
Right now. So you see that flag right there?
I see that, yeah.
That's some gay, right?
In this country, you can be who you want to be. Religion and politics have to be totally separate.
The Constitution says we're allowed to have religious beliefs. And in our religion, it says a woman marries a woman or a guy marries a guy, like strictly forbidden.
Leave the rest of us alone.
Do you think about the LGBTQ or sexual minorities and women's rights in Iran or when Islamists come to power anywhere in the world, even in the West, the Jewish community in the West, the Jewish community even in the US is under attack by Islamists. In Europe, the Jewish community has to have, in Denmark, for a long time, the military was put in because the police couldn't even handle the protection.
Do they want to divide Christians and Muslims? Yes, absolutely. The powers that be started this war on terror, and they started this attack on all religion and tradition. They started with Muslims. Do the powers that be want to conquer those religions and values? Divide and conquer. So that definitely, I'm on the same page with you on that.
Yeah.
But thinking that Haqiqatjou is an ally of yours, he thinks that small children, with no age limit, as does Khomeini. He wrote a book where he wrote in details about, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, about thawing a baby, even could be married off. And this is the same things that Haqiqatjou is saying now in 2023, and you want him to be your ally?
Comes at the end of puberty. Are you saying someone can marry and have sex with someone prior to getting their period?
So according to Islamic law, when the body is fully formed because of puberty, the period comes at Tanner stage 4, which is the end of puberty. So yes, when there are signs of physical maturity, then it becomes permissible for the husband in Islamic law to have marital relationships or consummate the relation with his bride. And this is
your ally against wokist, homosexuals or trans or queer. Yes, there is a lot of craziness going on with the trans ideology and queer ideology, and with the BLM and with the crazy feminists that want abortion when the child even could live by its own. There is a lot of craziness going on in the Western world, but do not think for 1 second that Islamists are your ally. Not understanding that sexual minorities need protection from these Islamists and not understanding that women need protection from these Islamists.
Do you know what precocious puberty is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what is it?
It means starting puberty unusually early, like beyond averages.
Is there anything in Islam that prevents you from, a man marrying a 5-year-old that started precocious puberty?
No, marriage can happen, you can arrange a marriage even as an infant, but that doesn't mean that sex is allowed.
But could a man have a marriage to a 5-year-old consummated if she started precocious puberty?
If she starts showing signs of physical maturity, then yes, that's permissible, as I stated. That's
what about
the
age
principle.
4?
If there are signs
3.
So this is something that becomes biologically impossible because precocious
I have a
puberty,
study that shows it goes as early as 11 months.
All right, well, that's something that the parents would not. The thing about Islamic marriage is that parents are involved at these ages. And when you look at the marriage of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to Aisha, her parents were involved.
Just look at the Iranian women, who are the bravest women on earth, who have stood up against the most violent oppression. They are being gassed in schools just for being girls who do not want to, wear hijab and who do not want to be oppressed by this regime in Iran anymore. They are being killed, they are being blinded, and they are being raped in prisons.
Two Jewish boys who were trying to join the rally took a wrong turn and mistakenly walked into the Islamist protest. As I arrived, it looked like two popular YouTubers, Mohammad Hijab and Ali Dawah, were riling up the mob. It was terrifying. The boys had to be rescued by the police as bottles and eggs rained down on them. Mohammad Hijab then threatened a police officer that he'd kill the boy's dog if he saw it again.
However, when those Zionists came in with their dogs, that was an act of provocation. So what we're saying now, and I'm making it very clear so everyone understands, if those dogs come close to us again, we will see it as an act of aggression, and we will kill those dogs, we'll put them down.
Hijab and Dawah then led the crowd to Speaker's Corner, and as the mob marched through London streets, screaming, "We'll find some Jews, we want their blood," the police did nothing. Let that sink in.
From them is that for them they think life begins. For us, we believe that death begins. We believe that life begins at death. We don't care about death. We love death. And if you think that our people in Palestine or across the Arab and Muslim world will let go of the struggle and our sacred places like Al-Aqsa, you are grossly mistaken. You will never, ever, and I say this to Netanyahu, I say this to all of the powers, we will never allow you to put your gross hands on Masjid Al-Aqsa. It will never happen.
They're calling for our literal blood, and the police are just strolling alongside them.
We'll find some Jews there. We want the Zionists, we want the blood.
And the problem with Islamist terrorism, Islamic militants, is a huge problem in the West today. And then you have guys on who just sit there and tell you that they want ex-Muslims killed. They, believe in jihad. You don't think that the Western world needs to mock the Prophet of Islam? Do you think it's a bad thing to mock that Prophet? Do you know his sunnah, is what that means for a lot of people getting hurt by terrorism, by threats, the women in Muslim communities, LGBT, sexual minorities, even in the West.